Do it. Okay. Um, so hi. I don't actually have a ton of context because it's been a while since we booked this meeting.
Yeah,
Um, we were saying hi. We're doing DevX and collaboration. So I'd love to learn more.
sure. So first of all, thank you. My name is Zevi. I'm head of product marketing at Lifecycle, which is a startup in Tel Aviv. And I think this was the context for me. And one of the reasons why I started to follow you over the last few months is because I believe you've been in touch with our CEO, Matan Mishan. Again, you talk to a lot
Mm,
of people, but Matan is CEO. We're a Devtools startup that's basically in a nutshell, where we bring inclusive collaboration to preview environments. And what we're trying to do is bring everybody in the company to the PR to try and streamline keep those feedback loops a little bit tighter, streamline the workflows, and minimize the headaches and increase happiness for everybody involved to get stuff out faster.
yeah, I love the website. Looks great.
Thank you.
I don't know who. It's like you had a cartoonist. Like
So this is, it's so awesome that you say that. First of all, we're actually revving the website this week, so stay tuned. But we're going to keep that element because everybody who looks at that one thing says
like this
that.
one.
Yeah. So this, everybody loves the cartoon, and the truth is that we did it intentionally. We did get a cartoonist because we really wanted to bring kind of like solutions to the human side of DevTools. In other words, like developers at the end of the day, if you look at 100 DevTools websites, they're all the same in a sense. They've all got the dark mode. They've all got, whatever. They've all got, they're just very abstract kind of schematic. And we're like, what we're trying to do is bring joy to the people who are doing the development, whether it's the developers or the people involved. And so that was actually, as much as it was trying to make people engaged, and get them to look farther down on the site. At the end of the day, that is actually one of our pillars culturally and philosophically. So,
Hmm. In terms of sort of bold design, have you uh, have you come across Lemon.io?
let's take a peek.
Look at these
No,
guys.
wow, that is bold.
Very bold, and then also a lot of custom illustrations,
Yeah,
storytelling, very sort of engaging, unusual copy.
love it.
Um, and yeah, you know, I
Very
guess
nice.
speaks to. I just love these turkey hand type things.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just this is the only other website that has made me feel like, okay, this is something different.
wow. Okay, that's so good to hear, because we people are like on the fence about the actual animation, and I keep saying like we get such good feedback. The rest of the site needs work. Like I only see the things that need improvement naturally, right? As the
Right.
people who built it, but I think we could do a lot better with our storytelling and fleshing out. This was thrown together relatively quickly a couple
Mhm.
months ago, but
Okay.
I think yeah, but I think we want to maintain that vibe, and that really, I think that actually cuts to the core of a couple of things I was interested in talking to you about. I mean, I think part of this conversation is just making the connection. But for me, I jotted down, to kind of be mindful of your time and to get the most out of the chat. I jotted down three main points that kind of jumped out at me as
So
being relevant. The first, I have to be honest with you, is really a personal one, and that is your content. And not just the content itself, but I think that some of the content, as somebody, I happen to just be like a writer in general, and like one of these guys, I happened to come across one of the first posts I read was, I think, one of your more popular ones, which is the learning in public, right? And
yeah.
and for the first time, I said to myself, wow, this person, I think, is articulating a lot of what I've been doing, that in micro cos, like in a micro way, in some of the things that I've been doing. I know for me in my own journey. So I went from kind of like product marketing roles in B2C and maybe more consumer facing companies and this is my first time really owning that side of things in a developer centric company. And so I've had to do a lot of catch up learning, understanding, kind of being the odd man out in a sense, like in some of these communities. And so I have been constantly feeling you know, what I think you wrote there, which is like, make the thing that you wish you had, you know, 3 months ago or whatever, you know, like make like that kind of thing, packaging up information, seeing like, how come why can't there just be a forum for this? Or how come there's not just a collection of tools for that? Or, so I just wanted to thank, I wanted to thank you for articulating that. And I think that
Oh,
that's a big, it really spoke to me personally. So that's just number one. In general, I wanted
that's
to,
super helpful because you know, for what it's worth, even though I wrote it, I also need reminders of it, you know, because sometimes you just feel like a lack of confidence and you're like, ah, man, I don't know. So thank you for that. Yeah, it actually does help when people
yeah,
say that.
it really, I actually was curious also because I saw that your content that you put out there, like on Hashnote and other places, it's eclectic, right? So a lot of it is dev centric, but I saw you also had stuff on, you reviewed Morgan Housel's book, for example, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly. So like, do you give any thought to that? Like, hey, it's gonna, because I'll tell you, for me, from like my self-conscious perspective, it's like, oh, I have to find my niche and I got to get a brand going. What, and it's gonna, you know, it's going to affect my tagline at the top if I write about something that's off topic. So
Yeah. So I do think about it a little bit. And I think I partially have a bit of freedom just because I feel like I have reached some level of like people know what I'm about and I can experiment a little bit. But I also have a kind of an artistic sense in terms of, you know, personal blogs are kind of dead. And it's kind of sad because like your personal blogs are not really personal anymore. It's
right.
just a personal site for your professional uh, thoughts, and that's kind of sad. Like I have I have one of my one of my deep cuts is I have some very personal stuff on the site, and that's okay. I think more people. I wish more people did that. That's what we used to do maybe 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's gone. But
Yeah.
you know, I'm not like I'm not gonna like do like political rants or something on my site, but like you know, I think I have the freedom to roam, and that's I want to exercise that freedom. And then the other thing that I've done recently is I'm starting to split off my development or Devtools writings into a separate site that has the branding, so that my personal site can remain a bit more free. So that's what I see among some of the other more established authors, and I think it's true. So you know what I typically recommend for new writers is just use your personal site username, because that's the one thing that's going to stay with you, and you're not going to change or change around or abandon or anything like that. And but then once you find the regular cadence, you know, the next stage I'm kind of exploring is splitting that out to a dedicated site that you know, people know what to get. So
Kind of
we'll see what,
clustering the content, you know, in different ways.
and also getting other collaborators.
Right. Right. So that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I do have a ton more to ask on the content side, but I do want to get to the other things also. So
Sure.
maybe we'll circle back to that, because
Yep.
I'm a content guy at my core. But I want to jump to I think two other things which are I think related. You related them in your DX tips blog. So
Okay.
that was really the impetus for this conversation, because when what you wrote there as to like why I'm starting a developer experience blog, that was,
Yep.
again, I found myself saying, holy moly, this is a guy who who's basically parroting what we've been saying internally. Because, you know, in our company, another one of our pillars that we've been working on is we basically built a company on the premise that there's such a thing called developer experience that can be advocated for, defined, promoted, and encouraged. And I think that that's what we're trying to do from our angle, which is to, you know, to bring a better experience to developers, make the actual, right, if user experience is the process of is the action of using the tool or using the product, so developer experience is how happy are you when you're actually developing. And what we're trying to do is literally increase the happiness levels of the developer and the broader development team during that splice of time.
Got it.
And so what
So
yeah, go ahead.
okay. Uh, uh, no, I think you were about to answer my question. So I want to. So what are you doing about that?
So what we're doing about that, so we actually have created, we found it was frustrating for us that there wasn't a lot out there that was very substantial. It was just a lot of buzzwordy stuff that was going on. So we actually created, it was almost like a natural extension of what we're doing. We have something called the DevX project, which is an experiment we started about 4 or 5 months ago, which is really, the truth is I can actually share with you
Yeah. You should be able to share.
Hang on 1 second.
Yep.
Maybe I'll share my screen even here. DevX, here we go. I can share my screen. Look at it together.
On Zoom. All right. Yep, I see it.
So there we go. So this is, this is a really simple landing page that we put together after it's already kind of hit a critical mass. Basically, what the MVP of this is that we've basically reached out to people who care about developer experience, who have something that they, that have something intelligent to say, some insight, and we kind of curated a list of 10 questions. It's kind of meant to be like a rapid fire micro interview with these people, and it's a repeatable series, and we reach out to people. We just spoke to Amir Shvat this past week, and we have just people from across the community in different roles. Some of them DevRels, some of them CTOs and founders. We have some of them bloggers and others, and we have a whole list of people in the queue. And what we try to do it about once a week, and we simply, the goal here is to create, and on this page, we're actually encouraging people to submit their own ideas in terms of companies or products that actually offer a great developer experience, and we're going to encourage people to kind of vet them to contribute, and people who do want to sign up. And we really want to scale this and bring a community sense to developer experience and the definitions and discussions around what people believe create a positive developer experience. And that's why we created this as kind of like our side hustle brand that we're leveraging to do that. And so when you launched your thing, I mean, we said to ourselves, wow, at the very least, I definitely just wanted to open up this conversation and talk to you about it. At the very least, I'd love to invite you to participate, in one of our features. But in general, I guess I'd love to hear from you, like how your project is going, where you see it going, and how you see room for growth kind of in that space of creating community around DevX.
Got it. Also, the project hasn't really gone off or started off yet. I've done a lot of content planning. I've done one interview, and I have maybe my first 4 articles lined up, and I think a couple sponsors too, which is just amazing.
Cool.
The reason I haven't really gotten started with it is just personal life issues. I've had unforeseen interruptions that sort of put me off my game, but I really sort of resolved everything this week, so I'm hoping to get on the horse next week. But yeah, I mean, be happy to participate, see what we can do together. I think this is something that everyone's interested in and trying to figure out. I will say that, again back to the whole content piece, I feel like video and audio sometimes are not as consumable as text. So I am focusing more text heavy.
So this is actually text. All these
okay.
So it's actually we call it episodes, but it's actually
all right.
The idea is to make it like micro interviews that people can consume, and eventually we'd have enough information we could aggregate and splice out. So interesting.
I also noticed your domains. So this is on the devx.lifecycle subdomain, but then it links off to a blog on your main domain. Right. That's interesting.
So this was actually again. Well, I'm curious to know why you think why that's interesting to you.
Yeah, it's SEO. That's it.
Well, I mean, this is probably not the best practice.
It's not, but whatever.
No. So again, I'll tell you what it is. What we did with this is, again, because it's totally not, and I'm happy you pointed out. We that's part of the fresh of the site that we're doing is we're going to bring this in-house. We're going to bring this into
Sure.
site. This was an what was like an unbounced page that we put together quickly, just because we had started to hit critical mass, and this was super important. We started to connect with communities, local open source and DevRel communities, and people were so excited about it. I didn't have a mechanism to bring Joe and Jolene developers in, and I wanted to hear their voice, but I didn't have a mechanism for trapping that interest. So I put together this landing page quickly just really for this bottom part, because I wanted them I wanted to give them an opportunity to say, if you have something awesome to say, let us know. Like, submit your, there's no catch here, there's no money. I'm not looking for anything. I just want to know who's interested, and I want to be able to parse out the valid submission. So we put together this landing page, we're submitting it, but we are going to migrate everything in-house to our site.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, what feedback or input, did you want from me? Or
so I think for you, I mean, the first thing was just the direct invitation, I wanted to invite you to participate here, and we've purposely made it like async. So if it helps to fill it in like a form questionnaire kind of thing, we could do that. If it's helpful to do it like a video call, we could record it and transcribe it. That's also cool. Whatever works for you. The second thing is, again, I'm only asking because there was such explicit, kind of initial overlap. I don't have a specific idea yet, especially because your platform is so fresh. But I think that there is a certain kind of power in numbers here. Like, I don't know yet, but I wanted to just open the conversation for maybe other deeper collaborations surrounding DX, if there were things, if there was opportunities to do so. I'll just tell you, we're also like doing a bunch of research on the side, so some of our data gathering, we're running a survey just this week about developer experience from the perspective of how developers interact with non-developers, people who are not engineers on the team, and how that affects them. We're collecting some super interesting data. I mean, that's really at the core of what we do in terms of, inclusive collaboration. And it's super interesting. Just one nugget I'll share with you is it's incredible to us the amount of the extent to which people are claiming that the ability to collaborate cross unit within a developer organization, or inability to collaborate. In other words, that perception, whether I can collaborate with other peers or not collaborate, is actually directly affects, it seems, their decisions on whether to take a job or leave a job. So in other words, like, what we're seeing is that the trend seems to be that developer experience expands way beyond just like a velocity of a development team. This could actually impact, retention of employees and other bottom line type, business.
Definitely.
That just people wouldn't think about. So I think DX is it affects everybody in the organization if you're building anything with developers, and that's something that I think people need to realize.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So I guess I wanted to open that up, and again, I don't know how your thing is working in terms of submitting. I saw you have an option to submit articles or things like that. I was just curious to hear from you what, if we did want to kind of get involved in a more meaningful way, what would you recommend as far as next steps or other things like that?
Okay. So I'm just kind of curating pieces from people. So one of I'm looking for sort of short, quick opinions. Is kind of how I think about it. In other words, or rants, like anything that. So I'll the first interview I recorded was an events a dev relations person who did a lot of events, and so his tagline was, "Nobody cares about your events." In other words, like like why, like, focus on what makes your event special, and he has some strong views about event organizing. So we just kind of went deep on that, and like we didn't cover like all of DevRel or all of developer experience or anything. We just had the one thing that he wanted to get out of his chest and say that. And then I think if we just have a site with just like strong opinions, then people can figure out the rest. Like it's one thing I try not to do is feature stuff that I think it's common sense or that has been said before, because then you don't have to read that from
Yeah.
the site. So
Yeah, I find that especially also like we're trying to move in like a PLG, we're like a PLG oriented company, and I find that
Mhm.
the PLG space also 98% of everything you'll read about PLG is just regurgitated from the article before, like it's unbelievable. So that's on my to-do list, is create like the 10, the 10 things that people actually have not yet said about PLG that you should know when starting a company. So
Yeah,
uh
yeah.
yeah, that's cool. Okay, so that's DX. And again, just in the interest of time here, to be mindful, I want to jump to the third thing, if that's okay.
Okay, of course.
Which is I have been really I was really taken by your discussions around like marketing and go to market specifically. And I saw that was actually on your list of things to talk about in the context of DX.
Oh, let's talk about it. All right.
So I was actually hoping to pick your brain a little bit and just get a couple of quick angles on like so we happen to be just next week, we launched, we had our open beta. We're just refreshing our product based on our initial kind of friction with the market, and we're relaunching kind of in full force in a week or so. And so I was super curious to hear from you. One of your things on your list just happened to be, I saw launch weeks. Like, do you need launch weeks? So, for example, like what's your quick take on that? And do you have any other quick kind of like hacks or advice, as far as like things that a PLG early stage startup could do that you think would make a particular impact, particularly heavy impact in the dev tools space?
Well, okay, so let's separate the PLG. Let's separate the PLG thing away from this. This is, we're talking tactical. Launch week is a tactical thing.
Yeah.
So my general philosophy of launches is it only matters in the moment, and 2 years from now, nobody cares. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, nobody remembers your launch. So whatever you do, you're going to still have to make it relevant to people and integrate it within your products, because the only people who care about your launch are the people who happen to be watching you at that period of time. And if you're doing anything right, the vast majority of people will never see your launch. So in other words, like, don't over estimate its importance. Even I think a well executed launch week is important, but don't, it's not life or death for any startup.
Right.
The other thing about launch weeks, I think, like, so I think a lot of people are copying the launch week thing, particularly based on Cloudflare and Supabase. And I think, like, you definitely do have like needs a compelling lineup, and I think basically, like, some people don't. so so like, do it if you have the goods. It's kind of
Right.
the very hard truth. And then also, like, if you're I think it's more of a motivating thing for employees than for users sometimes. And like, maybe that's not exactly true. Like, if you do have something exciting for your users, that's great. But I think it just really depends how invested your users are in, like, the next thing and your next feature.
Right.
And if they're not yet, then, like, maybe just maybe it just doesn't have to happen that way. So I think those are my quick takes. There's the tactics of, like, do you do a live stream? Do you do announcement blog post?
Yeah.
So Cloudflare I doesn't do anything apart from just put up some posts, and then everyone just tweets about
Right.
what they're working on. I think that's fine. They probably do have video stuff, like, on Cloudflare TV, but nobody sees it. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, look,
and
there's a lot to do. I mean, on you could do some stuff in Hacker, even Hacker News and Product Hunt. You can like leverage those platforms and other things. I'm saying
right.
there's things you could do to make a splash. But okay.
Well, yeah, you're also sort of spreading your splash across 5 days rather than one day.
Right.
And so it only works if you have something to announce that gets you talked about multiple times in that week. Like, the whole point of the launch week is, there are a number of points. One of them is that if people hear about you repeatedly within a very short time frame, like, to spike the attention, then they're more likely to sit up and take you more seriously as a whole. So I think there's a greater than a sum of the parts effect going on. But the other thing is, yeah, it's kind of like a shipping shipping philosophy or shipping forcing function. So
Right.
that's more for employees.
Right. No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. But I guess right. I guess we do. You do want to get it right. And in terms of like blogging platforms, so just jumping to one or two last questions, but before we end.
Yeah, sure.
But I see that you're heavy on Hashnode. Is
I
there?
picked Hashnode.
Yeah.
I picked Hashnode basically because they're a better dev tool. Just in terms of the tools, the authoring tools, and the reading experience. I felt like, but
Really?
DevTools is still the bigger community of readers. So I think it really depends, like where your readership, really lies. And I'm not exactly sure. Like I don't think there's one platform that is best for all audiences. I think you have to kind of experiment with a few platforms and figure it out.
Do you distribute content, the kind of the same type of content on multiple platforms?
So I typically do yes, I used to, and then I switched off. So I've basically gone back and forth on this. So why, like, I'm using Cashflow purely as a CMS. Kind of don't super care about their built-in social network. But I think for a lot of companies, it actually does help, especially if you have something that's relevant to a broader audience based on a certain topic that is already hot, to plug into an existing social network where people can find you. And that's what Dev2 is very good for. And they let you link the canonical link back to your site. So it just helps you to build sort of domain authority or whatever.
So just to get really super specific,
Yeah.
if I had a great blog that I posted to my native blog on my site, I would, in your mind, if I was asking your opinion, what would you think about me literally copying and pasting that with a canonical link that goes back to my page on these hash nodes and dev2s and just and that's the move, is just to kind of paste it everywhere and bring the traffic back, bring the canonical value back.
Yes. In fact, I went so far as to make that my source of truth for my main blog.
That being Hashnode.
My Dev2 site when I was on Dev2. So in other words, like if you're doing a lot of copy pasting, like there, you maybe want to try to automate it such that you're not copy pasting, because every time you update or change anything, you're gonna have to duplicate that again. So why not have a single source of truth? Either Dev2 or Hashnode are perfectly fine in terms of storing your data. They have APIs you can extract it from, and then and publish to your site. So if that's a way you want to go, that I think that's a little bit bold. I don't recommend that for everybody, but I used that and it was perfectly fine, and it's really good for updates.
That being what? So when you say what was bold, which part of it?
Bold meaning like not having a standard CMS. This would be sort of like a slightly hand-rolled CMS. Yeah.
And one last thing, do you have experience like on Hacker News, like just do you just, is the move there to just pump content, as just throw stuff at Hacker? I mean, I know there's a way to get people to help you kind of publicize posts there, but like a random blog post to Hash, I know that they have like some automated posts, they can forward stuff to Hacker News, and is that flood the system?
Look, like I don't think it's very gameable. I mean, well, there are some tricks that increase your odds, but also things fail all the time, and like the exact same post you can post like 4 times and it doesn't work, and then the 5th time it does. So like it's not really like deterministic.
Is there a reason not to post everything that I post on my blog?
No,
post that on
no. You want to post everything.
Post everything.
At least so people can find stuff when they click on it. I think definitely you want to pay attention to the titles and time of day is essentially what the game is. And a lot of people are not even going to read past that, but
that's true.
So if you get a good title game, then it's great, and then obviously a really good post content is also great. So I think fly.io is doing extremely well. Tailscale is doing extremely well. And then, there's also, if people already like, there's also the brand element. Like if people already like what you do, then all your posts just get a sort of generic
Yeah.
boost,
Yeah.
just from people being interested in your company.
Also, listen, I want to be mindful of your time. I know we booked the half hour, and
Oh, sure.
it's been so valuable for me. I really took a lot of good notes here, so I appreciate it. I also, by the way, I haven't even listened to your podcast. Just before this call, I noticed you had this podcast about career development and stuff like that.
That's dormant. That's dormant.
I'm just saying it was just cool. I just find it so cool that you're just not only you interested in different things, but you're actually like posting content. You're creating stuff about different in different verticals. I just find it not only because like I find myself like, in a way it's the wrong term, but like schizophrenic like that. Like I one day I'm like interested in this, and the next day I have so many varied interests, and I want to produce content across the board, and I find it inspiring that you actually were able to create a system around that. So I appreciate
the system is get a collaborator, and then we force each other to meet once a week and do stuff. Yeah.
So I just want to summarize. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to send you this. I'm going to. What's the best way to get in touch with you? By email? Just
email's great. Email's great. Yeah.
I'm going to send you, if it's okay with you, an invitation to participate in this DevX thing. And then in terms of the other stuff, maybe I'll just follow up with you in a month or so. I don't know. We'll see where things go. I'll tell you what we're up to in the DevX project. Maybe I'll check in again and see what you're up to with your DX tips, and we'll see. Maybe there's room for some deeper collaborations or sponsorships.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I love how organized you are.
Really appreciate your time. All right. Have a great rest of the weekend.
You too. Thanks, Zevi.